Welcome to the Seesaw Scenario with Eric and Mark Playground Rules show with special guest Sean. We're reaching out to Mr. Jocko Willink. He's a very smart guy who has displayed many great leadership traits that the world would do well to listen to. He's one of my leadership heroes. He probably was a joy to work for. However, there are no absolutes, and we would like to talk a little bit about Jocko's concept of extreme ownership from the playground rules perspective. In one of our first episodes, titled By the Numbers, we took a look into the parallels that exist between the actual playground and the adult organization playground. In this study, a federal group did a study of a city organization where they found that a large percentage of the people that work there have been a victim of adult bullying, and a large percentage witnessed it and did nothing about it. By that we mean a large percentage of adults in the company were marginalized because they weren't in the clique, and not promoted because they weren't contenders in the popularity contest run and judged by the playground executive, and witnesses did nothing about it to stay off the playground executive's blacklist. Here's where extreme ownership gets tricky. At some point, there's nothing to own, and you're just torturing yourself, allowing less than desirable practices to go unchecked. Here's what I mean. So let's say I don't get promoted. I collect myself and take the extreme ownership posture and ask myself some very important questions like, what training am I missing? What experience am I missing? Do I need a mentor? I go down that checklist, check, 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 and knock them out. Next time promotions come up, I get overlooked again. Once again, being humble, I assume the extreme ownership posture and ask myself, what qualifications or performance-related items does the organization value that I don't yet possess? I knock those out. Check, 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 and promotions come around again. By now, I'm all but a lawyer, special operator, published off in the field, and a high-level performer. The selection list comes out, and there are people on it that got promoted that don't possess the qualifications I didn't have 2 promotion cycles ago, which I thought were the issue. I'm extreme ownership out. It seems that what may be missing in the presentation of that concept is context. Or maybe I missed it, but that concept seems to label people unfairly and unethically overlooked as sore losers and complainers, and that's not a fair blanket statement at all to make in any case. In my experience, here's how organizational growth works at its most mundane conclusion. In the best case scenario, you train up, develop a solid work ethic, and then somewhere along the way a person likes you that is in the position to help you and pulls you up. In a less than ideal scenario for somebody who is not a popularity contest winner, you're in an organization and you have a friend or ally in a position of authority, and they simply pull you up, regardless of your qualifications or performance. While it is necessary, fine and dandy, to hold ourselves to a high standard, where's the balance? How say you, Mark and Sean?
Eric, so really good intro there. A lot of stuff to think about. I really like the concept of extreme ownership as a concept and to a certain extent in practice. I think that a lot of people these days, especially younger generations, and again, I'm not making a blanket statement because I know that there's young people who do have accountability, but I think that a lot of times younger people, the way they're growing up these days and that kind of thing, they're not being taught a sufficient amount of accountability in their personal lives, in school, with their responsibilities and that kind of thing. And what I like about the extreme ownership thing is absolute accountability, okay? Because sometimes people will just say, oh, well, I got overlooked for something because, you know, they like somebody else better, or it's just not a fair system or whatever. And in many cases, it's true, it's not a fair system. But the thing is, I think it gives people kind of a reason or an excuse to kind of quit on something early. And there should be every reason to encourage it and to stay with it, because if eventually, in a lot of cases, you will get to where you want to go, where somebody will get a promotion, or somebody will get an advance or a raise of some kind, or whatever it is that they're after. The problem is that, like in your case that you're talking about, you've checked off every single box. You've done every single thing that you could think to do. You've even tried to build the right relationships. And we know that the likability, like we've talked about, or personality is less important than character, or it should be at least. But you've even acknowledged that part because you're doing the, you're doing the working on the likability piece. You're showing some of the sides of your personality, your sense of humor, or any number of things, trying to build relationships along the way, like we've talked about. So I think that you've covered all the bases, actually. it seems to me that in some places that the situation just becomes a complete dead end. And that's why they say in some places you have Glassdoor and those types of websites, there's absolutely no upward mobility in this situation, no matter what they tell you. So I think that in your case, you've done the exact right thing where you've checked every single box, done everything that you can think to do. And we know that it's a playground, just like anywhere else is, and I think that the only thing to do at that point, once you've taken that extreme ownership, is to consider switching to another playground. Because eventually, the next playground that you go to, or maybe the one after that, is going to have the upward mobility that you're looking for. You'll get the promotion and the accolades that you're looking for, the raise that you're looking for, whatever it is. But in some cases, that's not available. So again, that has to be pursued very selectively. And if you feel like you've done everything that you can do, and you're still not getting the promotion or the advance or whatever, or the raise, time to move on to the next playground and carefully qualify it with websites like Glassdoors we've talked about. See what other people say. Is there actually an upward mobility or opportunity for advancement? If not, then stay where you're at until the right opportunity comes along. Stay with this, stay patient, have faith, and keep doing what you're doing.
Eric, I love that scenario, and Mark, a very thoughtful response there. Extreme ownership, as Jocko Willink describes it, is when a leader takes full responsibility for everything that affects the mission or the team or the performance without blaming others or circumstances. As a leader, we ask ourselves, what could I do different to prevent this? And I think Eric talked about that, right? And then changes the plans, the strategy, the training, the communication structures to improve the outcomes or the results. This surely is a powerful leadership mindset, but unfortunately, Eric, what we've seen is it's not really a silver bullet, right? It works well in environments where responsibility can be translated into concrete actions, but it often backfires in a lot of dysfunctional organizations. And the organization that we see a lot today are dysfunctional organizations, right? This extreme ownership works typically in cultures that value accountability and learning. And also, you need to have some control over the people, priorities, resources. So that way, you can take responsibility and you can lead the change or the real changes you're looking for. Unfortunately, today you have a lot of leaders who have a lot of responsibility but no real authority. And that's really important, right? Authority today, if you see in a lot of organizations, is very centralized. It should be decentralized, right? If you look at real good organizations, is not only having responsibility, but authority is also decentralized, so people can really make changes. The culture, if it's political or punitive, when admitting fault is simply used as a way to punish or scapegoat people, that's basically what's happening today, right? Most organizations, people deflect blame and then they get rewarded for it. So in summary, extreme ownership works when it's a problem-solving mindset or in a context where a leader can really influence the system or the organization, and it fails in a system that punishes honesty or rewards blame shifting, right? So looks like most organizations, and I think the person who sent the question too, it seems like they're in an organization where honesty is punished and where they're rewarding people who are blame shifting, right? You're shifting the blame to somebody else, and you're getting awarded for that. So that's my take. Again, great scenario, and I love this dialogue.